several vitamins have been grouped as B complex. Now, as we observe the vitamins, one we call it as fat soluble vitamins. What are the fat soluble vitamins? A, D, E, K. But here our concept is the water soluble vitamins. What are the water soluble vitamins? One we call it as the vitamin C, and the second one we call it as B complex vitamins. Students, we are having a good idea. In the medical shops, we are observing the B complex vitamins. What are the B complex vitamins? One we call it as the thiamine, that is called B1, and the second one is B2, that is riboflavin, and B6, that is pyridoxine, and vitamin B12, and next pantothenic acid, and biotin, and next folic acid, folacin. All these are the vitamins. As we observe the thiamine, riboflavin, pyridoxine, folic acid, niacin, B12, cyanocobalamin, pantothenic acid, biotin. All these vitamins having the same sources, so that all these vitamins are grouped as B complex vitamins. In the medical shop, we are getting the B complex tablets. In the B complex strip, all these vitamins are available, or it is also called the multivitamin capsule. Now, based on this information, several vitamins have been grouped as B complex. These are several vitamins. Reason: several vitamins have similarities in the distribution in the common natural sources. So, both are correct, or explains A. Now, we go for the next question. Vitamin E acts as antioxidant. Reason: vitamin E inactivating the oxygen free radicals. We are having an idea regarding vitamin A. It is called anti-geraphthalmic vitamin. What about the vitamin D? Anti-rachitic vitamin. And vitamin E, that is called anti-sterility. And vitamin K, that is called anti-hemorrhagic vitamin. Now here what is the question? Vitamin E acts as antioxidant. We are having a good idea regarding the herbal teas. Students, we are having some idea regarding the green tea, the herbal tea, etc. that are available in the market. If we are taking the herbal tea or the green tea, along with the herbal tea and green tea, we are getting the vitamin E. What is the importance of vitamin E? The vitamin E inactivates the oxygen free radicals. If they are not eliminated, if they are not inactivated, they are accumulated in the tissues. Later, they become the stones. So that as we observe the vitamin E acts as antioxidant. Reason: it inactivates the oxygen free radicals. So that both are correct, or explains A. Now we go for the next question. The viper with arrow shaped mark on its head also. Now as we observe the poisonous snakes regarding the reptiles, one type of poisonous snakes we call it as vipers. In Telugu they are called Rakta Pinjaralu. Now as we observe the vipers are viviparous. What is meant by viviparous? They give birth to young ones. Now as we observe the venom of vipers, what is the meaning of venom? Poison. As we observe the poison of vipers, it shows effect on blood vascular system. Suppose a viper bites us. Suppose a viper bites us. Because of the poison of viper in our body, the circulatory system collapse. Because of the biting of viper, we are getting the bleeding from the ears, getting bleeding from the nose, getting bleeding from the eyes, getting bleeding from the mouth. We should not get the foam. Other than vipers, if they bite us, we are getting the foam from the mouth cavity. What is the foam? The saliva comes out in the form of a foam. In Telugu it is called nurugu. The foam will come out because of the biting of other than vipers. If viper bites us in our body, the circulatory system collapse. The blood will come out from the ears, from the nose, from the mouth and from the ears. Now, one example for the vipers, that is called Aches carinata. Now, as we observe the Aches carinata, this is the head of Aches carinata. On the head, arrow mark is present. That is one identification of Aches carinata. Now, this part we call it as tail. On the ventral side of tail, what are present? The scales are present. Here the scales are called subcaudals. What is meant by subcaudals? They are nothing but the scales present on the ventral side of the tail. Now here, in case of Aches carinata, you have to observe the diagram. The subcaudals are arranged in how many rows? Only one row. Now here what is the question? The viper with arrow shaped mark. What is the viper with arrow shaped mark? Aches carinata. On its head also has how many rows of subcaudals? One row of subcaudals. So that what is the correct answer? The second one. Now we go for the next question. Viviparous. What is meant by viviparous? Give birth to young one. Viviparous snake with neurotoxic poison. And now, as we observe the viviparous snakes, what are the viviparous snakes? One example is the sea snakes. All sea snakes are viviparous. The second example is vipers. All vipers are viviparous. And the third example is the dryofish. Now the dryofish is non-poisonous snake. Vipers, poisonous snakes. What about the sea snakes? Poisonous snakes. Now already we discussed regarding the vipers. The venom of viper shows the effects on blood vascular system. Now what is the leftover? Only sea snakes. The venom of sea snakes shows effect on the nervous system of the body. So that here, what is the viviparous snake? Sea snake. Its venom or its poison shows the effect on nervous system. So it is called neurotoxic. Particularly the venom shows effect on the respiratory center. Where the respiratory center is present? In the medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata is the part of the nervous system. Now here, viviparous snake with neurotoxic poison. The best example is sea snake. What are the sea snakes? One example, the scientific name of sea snake, one is hydrofish and the second one is anhydrina. Now you observe the question. What is the option given for this question is anhydrina. Anhydrina and hydrofish both are sea snakes. They are viviparous. Their venom is neurotoxic. Now we go for the next question. Triangular head is covered with small scales. Now, as we observe the vipers, in all vipers, as we observe the head region, this is head region, it is triangular. Now the head is covered by small scales. Name the snakes in which the head is triangular, covered by small scales. No doubt vipers. What are the examples for the vipers? One is Russell's viper. What is the second one? Aches carnata. What is the third one? Trimeresaurus. Again repeating. What are the examples for the vipers? One is Russell's viper. Second one Aches carnata. And the third one is Trimeresaurus. In all vipers, the head is triangular and covered by small scales. Now based on this information, what is the answer? The vipers. Now we go for the next question. Viviparous snake with weak poison in its saliva. Now here viviparous snake. What are the viviparous snake? One is sea snakes over, vipers over. What is the leftover? That we call it as the dryophis. It is non-poisonous snake. As we observe the dryophis, its saliva is slightly poisonous, but it is not much dangerous. Generally, the dryophis, as we observe the dryophis, it is present on the trees. In Telugu, it is called Pasirika Pamu. Now, as we observe the dryophis present on the trees, the color of dryophis matches with the color of the tree. We are unable to identify immediately. The dryophis is popularly known as eye plucker. Why it is called eye plucker? Whenever we touches the dryophis, what is going to happen? The dryophis injects the saliva into our eyes. Students, again observe why it is called eye plucker. Whenever dryophis is touched by its enemy, immediately the dryophis releases the poisonous saliva into the eyes. Sometimes we are getting inflammation and irritation of eye, but it is not that much dangerous. If we wash our eyes with the water, automatically it is clear. Based on that, it is called eye plucker. As we observe the dryophis, in the dryophis, this is the dryophis snake. In the dryophis, as we observe the tail is curved. Such tail we call it as prehensile. What is meant by prehensile tail? The tail is curved. If the tail is curved ventrally, it is called prehensile. Now here, viviparous snake with weak poison in its saliva has what type of tail? The prehensile tail. Now we go for the next question. Phyclothermic. What are the phyclotherms? Their body temperature changes. What are the phyclotherms? Now we are having an idea regarding the phyclothermic vertebrates. One example is the reptiles. The second one is the pisces. And the third one is amphibians. Now all these are phyclothermic vertebrates. Pisces, amphibians, reptiles. Now you observe the question. Phyclothermic vertebrates. What are the phyclothermic vertebrates? Reptiles, pisces, amphibians. Now, as we observe the amphibians, in the amphibians heart, how many chambers are present? 3. 2 auricles, 1 ventricle. What about the pisces? In pisces, the heart is S-shape. In the heart, how many chambers are present? 1 auricle, 1 ventricle. Now as we observe the reptiles, in all reptiles, the 2 auricles incompletely divided ventricle. But here what is the question you have to observe? Poikilothermic vertebrate with 2 lungs and 4-chambered heart. In the reptiles, one exception is crocodiles. As we observe the crocodiles, now this is the trachea, bronchi, and these are lungs. In between the lungs, what is present? The 4-chambered heart. Now the 2 auricles and 2 ventricles. Now the crocodiles, nothing but reptiles, they are poikilothermic. In the reptiles, this is the only exception, 2 atria and 2 ventricles. That means 4-chambered heart like that of aves and mammals, where completely 4-chambered heart first developed, crocodiles. Now here what is the correct answer is crocodiles. One example for the crocodiles is gavialis. Now we go for the next question. Each eye is capable of independent movement in this reptile having. Now as we observe the reptiles, one type of reptiles we call it as lizards. In the lizards, one example is called chameleon. One example we call it as chameleon. Students, we know very well the Telugu meaning of chameleon, that is Osaravelli. Now as we observe the chameleon, in the kingdom Animalia, as we observe the chameleon, this is the only animal can move its eyeball independently. We are unable to move the eyeballs independently. But as we observe the chameleon, it can move each eyeball independently. As we observe the chameleon, in the chameleon, 4 limbs are present, hind limbs are present. In the 4 limbs, all digits are fused. That we call it as syndactylus. In the same way, in the hind limb, all digits are fused. That we call it as syndactylus. Again you have to observe. In the chameleon, this is 4 limb. In the 4 limb, the 5 digits are completely fused. It is called syndactylus. Now this is the branch of tree. With the help of syndactylus 4 limbs and hind limbs, it firmly attaches or holds the branches of the tree. Now here you observe the question. Each eye is capable of independent movement in this reptile. What type of reptile? Chameleon. Having. Now the third option, syndactylus limbs plus prehensile tail. In chameleon also the tail is curved. With the help of curved tail, it holds the branches of the tree. With the help of syndactylus 4 limbs and hind limbs, it holds the branches of the tree. So based on this information, the answer is 3. Now we go for the next question. Assertion. Snakes can receive the ground vibrations. Now as we observe the body of the snake, now this is the body of the snake. As we observe the body of a snake, this part we call it as a head region. In the snake body, there is no external ear, there is no middle ear. Only what type of ear is present? The internal ear. Now in the internal ear, what is present? One bone is present, that is called the columella oris. Now you have to observe the snake. Now this is the body of the snake. In the body of the snake, in the internal ear, one bone is present. In each internal ear, one bone is present, that is called columella oris. This is one columella oris and this is another columella oris. The columella oris buried in the muscles. So that as we observe the snake, it receives only ground vibrations. If we speak in the air, the snake unable to receive the sound vibrations in the air. It receives only the ground vibrations. It is unable to receive the vibrations from the air because it has no external ears and it has no tympanum. It has no middle ear, so that the snake unable to receive the airborne vibrations. Just it receives the ground vibrations because the columella is buried in the surrounding skin or the muscles. Now, assertion: snakes can receive ground vibrations. In snakes, the columella is attached to what type of bone? Quadrate bone, so that it is able to receive the ground vibrations. Both are correct, or he explains here. Now we go for the next question. Which of the following is a false snake? It is not a snake, but it appears to be snake, so it is called the false snake. Which of the following is false snake? Ophiofagus hanna. It is also called king cobra. It is also called naja hanna. So what is the first option? Ophiofagus hanna. That is a true snake. It is also called king cobra or rachanagu or nallatrachu, or it is also called the naja hanna. Now the second one is Ophiosaurus. It is not a snake. It is a lizard, but its body appears to be snake. Its body is elongated like a snake, so it appears to be snake, but it is not a snake. So Ophiosaurus is a false snake. It means it is a lizard. So the correct answer is second one. Now we go for the next question. Match the following. Now the list one: Spinodon. Second one, terrapin. Third one, horned lizard. And the fourth one, tympanum absent. What is the other name of tympanum? Eardrum. Now, list 2, Lacertilia, Ophidia. Lacertilia means included lizards. Ophidia included snakes. Living fossil, has not undergone any changes since millions of years. What is meant by Anopsida? In the last class we discussed. Now this entire part is skull. This is temporal region. In the temporal region, if openings are absent, that we call it as Anopsid skull. This is temporal region. In some reptiles, in the temporal region no openings. Such type of skull we call it as Anopsid skull. Now crocodilia we know very well. Now we have to discuss Spinodon. Among the reptiles, this is the only reptile considered as a living fossil. It has not undergone any changes since millions of years. It is confined to only New Zealand. So Spinodon is a living fossil. What about the terrapin? As we observe the chelonians in Telugu, they are called tabelu. Now, as we observe the chelonians live in freshwater. They are called terrapin. Now, in terrapin, what is absent? The openings are absent in the temporal region. So, what type of skull in the terrapin? Anopsid. What about the horned? Horned means on the head region a horn present. Here horned toad. The horned toad is nothing but, that is Alloderma. The horned toad is a lizard. The lizard come under Lacertilia. What about the tympanum? That is eardrum. In case of snakes, there is no tympanum. Snakes come under Ophidia. Based on this information, the answer is the fourth one. Now we go for the next question. Now we discuss Sarrafsids. Now what are the Sarrafsida? as we observe the Sarrafsida, it is a group. In this group, what are present? The reptiles and aves. There are so many similarities between reptiles and aves. One example is, in majority of reptiles, 12 pairs of cranial nerves are present. In all aves, how many cranial nerves? 12 pairs. In reptiles and aves, in the embryonic stage, rudimentary gills are present. Like that, many similarities are present. So these two are grouped as Sarrafsida. Now you observe the question. Sarrafsids, reptiles and aves with thecodont teeth. What is meant by thecodont teeth? Now this is the jawbone. In the jawbone, what is present? A socket. In the socket, what is present? The teeth. The singular tooth, the plural is teeth. If teeth present in the sockets, that is called thecodont. Among Sarrafsida, where we have to observe the thecodont teeth. One example is the crocodilia. The second example is Archaeopteryx, that is a flightless bird. Nowadays became extinct. Now, based on this information, what is the answer? Crocodilia come under the reptilia. Archaeopteryx, that is a flightless bird, became extinct, come under the aves. So both are considered as Sarrafsida. The answer is third one. Now we go for the next question. Chief character of amniotes with longest lifespan. Now again, you observe the question. Here they are asking chief character of amniotes. Now, what are the amniotes? Amniotes means what is present? Amnion. Now, what are the amniotes? We know very well reptiles, aves, mammals. But here what is the question? Chief character of amniotes with longest lifespan, that is the order Chelonia. The Chelonia members having the longest lifespan. Over. Now we have to observe the options. Presence of incomplete four-chambered heart. Now in Chelonia, no doubt, two auricles and ventricle incompletely divided. The first option is correct. Second, presence of 12 pairs of cranial nerves. In Chelonia, 12 pairs of cranial nerves. Third one, presence of Bejarre, box-like exoskeleton. Now as we observe Chelonia, this part we call it as the head, and this part we call it as the neck, and this one we call it as the trunk, and this is the tail. These are forelimbs and hind limbs. Now this is the Chelonia. Now as we observe the Chelonia, the body is covered and protected by tortoise box. This box having dorsal carapace and ventral plastron. Carapace and plastron in the form of a box. That box is called tortoise box. It is very hard. The tortoise box is used in the preparation of so many valuable articles. Generally, the tortoise box minimum cost is 1 lakh rupees and maximum is 10 lakhs rupees. It is very hard. Dorsally made by carapace, ventrally made by plastron. Whenever there is a danger, the entire animal withdrawn into the tortoise box. We are unable to break the tortoise box. Such is very hard. That is the chief character of Chelonia. No doubt the Chelonia, it is amniote. Now the first statement is correct. Second one statement correct. And the third one, presence of Bejarre box-like exoskeleton, nothing but tortoise. And the fourth one, presence of single-headed rib. All 4 options are correct. But here what they are asking, among these 4 options, what is very important, that is the chief character, that is the presence of the tortoise box or Bergeret-like exoskeleton. Now, out of 4 options, the nearest option is the third one. Now we go for the next question. Now the matching. List 1, Tatara lizard. Second one, horned toad. Third one, beaded lizard. And the fourth one, glass snake. Third one is grass snake. And the fifth one is whip snake. What is meant by whip snake? The body is whip-like. List 2, Ophiosaurus, Haloderma, Torpedonotus, Spinodon, Dryophis, Phrynogyoma. Now, Tatara lizard, it is also called the Spinodon. The Spinodon is also called the living fossil or Tatara lizard. And horned toad, on the head horn is present. That is the Phrynogyoma. Beaded lizard, example is Haloderma, that is a poisonous lizard. And glass snake, the body is snake-like, but it is a lizard. What is the example? Ophiosaurus. Grass snake, what is the grass snake? That we call it as Torpedonotus, where it is in the fresh water. Whip snake, the body is whip-like, that is the Dryophis. Based on this information, what is the correct answer? That is the fourth one. Now we go for the next question. Again, what is the matching? Set 1, blind snake. Second one, double-headed snake. Third one, vertebral hexagonal. Fourth one, Afkin biopharmaceuticals. Now, the first one is blind snake. As we observe the non-poisonous snakes, Typhlops, that is a blind snake, appears to be earthworm and it lives in burrows. It is a blind snake. It is a non-poisonous snake. Second one, double-headed snake. It is popularly known as Eryx johnny. Now in the Eryx johnny, what is present? The head is present. Now as we observe, this is the body of Eryx johnny, and the tail also appears to be the head. The tail appears to be head, but it is not a head. So double-headed snake, Eryx johnny. Third, vertebrals are hexagonal. As we observe the kite, this is the body of kite. This is dorsal side. On the dorsal side, hexagonal scales are present. As we observe the body of kite, on the dorsal side, hexagonal scales are present. That is one identification. What is the second identification? This is the lower jaw. In the lower jaw, first, second, third, fourth. This is infralabial. In case of kite, what are the identifications? Fourth infralabial is the largest, and on the dorsal side, hexagonal scales are present. Now, the last one is Afkin Biopharma. It is located at Mumbai. These pharmaceuticals prepare anti-venom. Now, blind snake is Typhlops, double-headed snake is Eryx johnny, vertebrals hexagonal. Kite, in Telugu they are called Katlapamu, Often biopharmaceuticals, they prepare anti-venom. Now we go for the next question. Assertion. Double-headed. You have to observe the question. Double-headed ribs are seen in crocodilia. Now as we observe the reptiles, in the reptiles one option is the crocodiles. In the crocodiles, as we observe the ribs, the rib has two heads. One we call it as capitulum, one we call it as tuberculum. But in remaining reptiles, as we observe the rib may has either capitulum or the rib may has the tuberculum. If both the heads are present, double-headed ribs. If only one head is present, that is called single-headed rib. Now, here the assertion. Double-headed ribs are seen in crocodilia. The ribs have both capitulum and tuberculum. So, both are correct or explains here. Now, we go for the next question. Pods reduced or absent in female birds. Now, as we observe the female birds, in order to reduce the body weight, one adaptation in the body of female birds, the right side ovary and right side oviduct reduced or atrophied. In the birds, the renal portal system, it is also reduced. So, in case of female birds, the left ovary, left oviduct is functional. The right ovary, right oviduct reduced or atrophied. In all birds, the renal portal system present, but it is very much reduced. So that, what is the correct answer? The first one. Now, we go for the next question. Warm-blooded. Now, what are the warm-blooded animals? One example is aves, and the second example is the mammals. Now, these are warm-blooded, and these are amniotes. That means, in their life history, in the development, what is present? Amnion. So, they are called amniotes, and all these are vertebrates with dicondylic skull. What is meant by dicondylic skull? This part we call it as skull. At the base of skull, two occipital condyles are present. Two occipital condyles. If two occipital condyles are present, that is called dicondylic skull. In case of mammals, dicondylic skull present. But in case of aves, what type of skull? Only one occipital condyle, that is monocondylic skull. And in case of amphibia, also, what type of skull is present? Dicondylic. Now, based on this, warm-blooded amniotic vertebrates with dicondylic skull are only mammals. In the mammals, at the base of skull, two occipital condyles, so it is called dicondylic skull. Amphibia, they are not the warm-blooded animals. Here the answer is only mammals. Now we go for the next question. Read the following statements regarding homeothermic. What are the homeothermic? Aves and mammals. And eurythermal. Aves and mammals can tolerate wide range of temperature fluctuations. So, aves and mammals, they are homeotherms, they are eurythermal. And living amniotes, in the development what is present? Amnion. Now they are asking the statements regarding aves and mammals. Now we observe the first statement. All have 12 pairs of cranial nerves. No doubt aves and mammals have 12 pairs of cranial nerves. But Only in mammals dicondylic skull. In aves monocondylic. So first option is wrong. Second, all have metanephric kidneys. Aves and mammals having metanephric kidneys. Urinary bladder. In mammals, urinary bladder present, but in aves, urinary bladder absent. And uricotelic. Aves are uricotelic, but mammals ureotelic. So the second one is wrong. Third, in aves and mammals, in the heart, how many nodes are present? 2 nodes. One we call it as SCA node, and the second one we call it as AV node. The number of nodes are 2. But what is the pacemaker? SCA node. Whenever SCA node is not working, the AV node working as a pacemaker. So that as we observe the third option, atrioventricular node, that is AV node, acts as ectopic. Ectopic means whenever SCA node is not working, AV node working as a pacemaker. And presence of double-headed ribs. In aves and mammals, the ribs are double-headed, number of nodes 2. Whenever SCA node is not working as a pacemaker, AV node working as a pacemaker. So the third statement is correct. What about the fourth one? All of them lack sinus venosus, truncus arteriosus, and systemic arches of one side. But in case of aves, right systemic arch present. In case of mammals, left systemic arch present. So based on this information, first, second, fourth are wrong. Only the correct one is the third option. Now we go for the last question. Regarding the matching, shape of the bird's bone, sabry shaped bone. What is the sabry shaped bone? In the meat shop, we have to use this type of knife. That is the shape of sabry shaped bone, V shaped bone. The clavicles are united to form V shaped bone. That we call it as furcula. Now, triangular or oar shaped bone, plough shaped bone, boat or raft shaped bone. Now list 2. Furcula. As we observe the furcula, the clavicles are united to form V-shaped bone. That is called furcula. What about the pygostyle? Now in the body of rabbit, now this part, this is in the last part of the body, a plough-shaped bone is present. It is called pygostyle. Now what is the shape of pygostyle? That is plough-shaped bone. Now based on this information, what is the correct option? That is the fourth one. In the next class, we have to discuss the remaining topics.